Mario Kempes, Diego Maradona, Lionel Messi,
Alfredo Di Stefano,
Aguero, Higuain, Milito, Crespo, Zanetti, Mascherano, Labruna, Batistuta.
Seems like we have achieved 100% of football greatness. Welcome to football in Argentina. Hello and welcome to Footour, your football world trip around the globe here on YouTube. I'm your host Björn, and this episode already gives me goosebumps and anxiety at the same time, because how am I supposed to present you Argentina's football greatness in just a short time span? The South American football powerhouse is one of the world's greatest football nations. They are a serious contender for the World Cup trophy at almost every tournament, and the country of 45 million produced some of the greatest players of all time. And even though their greatest talents make a move to the honeypots in Europe in an early stage of their career, the people in Argentina never lost their passion for the beautiful game. It's home to clubs that are world-renowned, and Buenos Aires, at least to me, is the world capital of football. The Argentine fan culture is a role model for countless fan scenes around the world, and I argue that there are not that many nations on this small planet where football is so extremely integrated into society. So let's start with a short historic look on how football became a crucial part of the culture in Argentina. Like in so many episodes before, one nation has its major shares on why football in Argentina is part of daily life: Great Britain. British immigrants, especially those who worked for British-owned railway companies, made their move to Argentina in the mid-1800s. The first football club was founded in 1867 by English immigrants Thomas and James Hogg, the Buenos Aires Football Club. Even though the Hogg brothers founded the first club on Argentine soil, Alexander Watson Hutton is considered to be the father of Argentine football. He was the founder of the Buenos Aires English High School, and he instructed his students to play football as a regular subject. More and more clubs were born in the years after, and even though football clubs were a mostly British thing in the beginning, other immigration groups like the Spanish or the Italians quickly followed up. Until today, the influence of the British is still omnipresent in Argentine football. Club names like Rosario Central, Newell's Old Boys, or even River Plate remind you of the British heritage. Argentina and the British Empire had a very tight football connection in the early days of the 20th century, and already professional sides from England made their way to Argentina for exhibition tours. Southampton was the first club to go on the exhausting journey over the Atlantic in 1904, when they played matches against teams from Argentina and Uruguay. While the British clubs were the dominant sides in their first trips to South America, Southampton won each of their 6 exhibition matches. The Argentine skill increased year after year. When Chelsea visited South America for their tour in 1929, they played 60 matches altogether, lost 8 and only won 5. On the other side, clubs like River Plate or San Lorenzo traveled through Europe and showed their stunning performances. After winning the championship in 1946, San Lorenzo went on an exhibition tour through Spain and Portugal. They first beat the Spanish national team 7-5 and trashed them 6-1 just 15 days later, just to show off even more by scoring 10 goals against Portugal. Only Real Madrid was able to win against El Ciclón in one of the 10 matches played on European soil. Argentina was the first country outside of Europe to organize a league. The AAFL, the Association Argentine Football League, organized the first season in 1891, with 5 clubs contesting to be the country's first champion. All clubs had a non-professional status until the 1930s. But since the popularity of the game grew massively, clubs could generate more and more money, which they invested into better players. That led to the founding of the first professional league in 1931. 18 clubs, including sides like Boca Juniors, River Plate or San Lorenzo, left the actual league to join the new professional one, and that has been a crucial factor on the popularity of those clubs until today. Clubs who stayed behind in the amateur league, teams like Nueva Chicago or CA Almagro, even nowadays struggle to establish themselves as a frequent first division side. Another important impact on who we view as a big club today was a dispute between the clubs and the federation in 1937. The biggest club of that time, and even today, River, Boca, Racing, Independiente and San Lorenzo, lobbied for bigger representation, which led to the decision of the Football Federation to establish a new voting distribution key. Clubs with more than 15,000 members, at least 20 years in the competition, and at least 2 national trophies were granted 3 voting rights. Clubs between 10 to 15,000 members, 20 years and at least 1 trophy got 2 voting rights. The rest got 1. That led to the establishment of the Big Five that is still present until today, even though the voting rights system was scrapped in the 1950s. Several surveys say that the big five clubs gather more than 80% of the national support behind them, with Boca and River Plate being the most popular clubs. While the both Buenos Aires teams are the biggest and most popular clubs of our time, the first club that had a major impact on Argentine football is a now defunct team, Alumni AC. The club was founded in 1898 and won its first national trophy just 2 years later. Between 1900 and 1911, they won whooping 10 seasons in the Primera División. But in 1913, the club suddenly folded. The club played their matches on various sites, but missed the chance to establish themselves in a certain neighborhood, while other clubs more and more intertwined with their neighborhoods and gained members and a following. When the Copa Libertadores was first played out in the 1960s, Argentinian clubs dominated the tournament. To this date, 25 Copa Libertadores trophies went to Argentina, more than any other South American country could gather. Independiente is the most successful club with 7 trophies, followed by the Boca Juniors with 6 trophies. River Plate only won 4 times, same to Estudiantes de La Plata. San Lorenzo, Vélez Sarsfield, Racing and Argentinos Juniors won the title once. A controversial milestone in Argentine's football history is the year 1978 when they hosted the World Cup. But why controversial? Between 1976 and 1983, a military dictatorship ruled the country and they used the World Cup to enhance the image inside and outside of the country. And while Argentina lifted their first World Cup trophy into the night sky of Buenos Aires, more than 30,000 fell victim to the regime during the 7 years of reign. Argentina managed to win their second World Cup trophy just 8 years later. So, let's have a closer look on one of the most successful national selections in the world, the Albiceleste. The Argentine Football Association, in short AFA, is one of the oldest federations worldwide. Established in 1893, it affiliated with FIFA in 1912 and is a founding member of South America's football federation CONMEBOL since 1916. The golden child of the federation is the national selection. With 2 World Cup wins, Argentina is one of only 8 nations to ever lift the most prestigious trophy in world football. Once in 1978 and the second win in 1986, while reaching the final match on 5 occasions. It has won 15 Copa America trophies, while reaching the final 29 times. Another major trophy the Albiceleste could win twice was the Olympic gold medal in 2004 and 2008. Lionel Messi is Argentina's top scorer with 80 goals in 158 matches, which also makes him the most capped player in the country's history. Diego Maradona only scored 34 goals in 91 matches for the Albiceleste. The vertical light blue and white stripes are a part of Argentine football identity since 1908. Currently, the AFA gets equipped by German sports manufacturer Adidas. Argentine's biggest rivals are the direct neighbors Uruguay and Brazil. England and Germany can be considered the biggest rivals outside of South America. The feud with England stems back to the early stages of football in the country, but flared up again in the 1980s, when Argentina lost its battle with the UK for the Falkland Islands. Let's check out the domestic competitions. To be honest, this section gave me lots of headaches since the Argentine league system seems to change its format every other year. Once they crowned 2 champions in one season, when they split the season into the Apertura and Clausura format. In other years, they had a similar system to most of the European top leagues, where each team faced its opponents twice in a season. Or you do it in the most recent way by blowing up the league to 28 teams. The top flight is called La Liga Profesional, but is mostly known under its long-lasting name Primera División. Underneath the Primera División, we can find the second division, the Primera Nacional, mostly known as Nacional B. And here, it even gets more extreme. A whopping number of 37 clubs will battle out the promotion for the first division. Underneath the second division, the league system gets split up into league competitions for clubs directly affiliated to the AFA in the Primera B, or to non-directly affiliated clubs to the AFA in the Torneo Federal A. Roughly summarized, most clubs from the Buenos Aires metropolitan area and the biggest clubs from cities like Rosario or La Plata are organized under the rings of the AFA, while most clubs from outside of Buenos Aires are registered to the regional federations. The league pyramid reaches down to the 5th division, a level contested by a number of different regional leagues. Most successful club in history are River Plate with 37 championships, followed by Boca Juniors with 34. Racing won 18 times and the arch-rival Independiente 16. San Lorenzo was able to lift the trophy 15 times. Estudiantes from La Plata and Newell's Old Boys from Rosario are the most successful non-Buenos Aires clubs with 6 victories each. To this date, Argentina has seen 28 different league champions. Before the start of the 2022 season, the first division clubs play out the Copa de la Liga Profesional, the League Cup. The 28 clubs get split up in 2 groups of 14. Each team plays the other teams once in the group, plus 1 match against the biggest rival from the other group. The top 4 teams of each group qualify for the knockout stage. The winner of the League Cup enters next season's Copa Libertadores, same to the winner of the league and the Copa Argentina. The country had several different cup competitions in its history. The most important domestic cup competitions today are the Copa Argentina and the Supercopa Argentina. Let's check out the players. Argentina produced some of the best players in world history, and trying to name all of them would fill a week-long video. So now, I have the most difficult task to break down the list of Argentine's greatest players to the unholy number of 5. My number 5, Carlos Tevez. El Apache has won almost everything, except for a World Cup. Italian, English, Argentinian and Brazilian champion, dozens of domestic cup competitions, the Champions League with Manchester United, Copa Libertadores with Boca Juniors, Olympic gold, individual trophies like South America's Player of the Year on 3 occasions. Nice. Number 4, Alfredo Di Stefano. I guess some Spaniards might argue that he was Spanish, but born in Buenos Aires and educated in the Academy of River Plate, he sure qualifies to be mentioned here. He only played 6 international matches for Argentina, but managed to win the second most prestigious trophy a South American can win, the Copa America in 1947. Number 3, Mario Kempes. Mario Kempes is mostly remembered for his stunning performances at the 1978 World Cup. That was played at home in Argentina. He majorly contributed to the first World Cup victory of the country, since he became the top scorer of the tournament. Altogether, he played 43 matches for Argentina and scored 20 goals. Number 2, and now it gets controversial, Lionel Messi. I guess now I will get some hate, since I don't mention him on rank number 1. But Lionel Messi is only the second most influential Argentine footballer in history. 10 Spanish championships, 4 Champions League trophies, recently the Copa America, and dozens of Ballon d'Ors and FIFA World Footballer Awards. He might be the most technically brilliant player the world has ever seen. But there's one Argentine player who casts an even greater shadow. Diego Armando Maradona. Yeah, I know. He wasn't as successful as Messi on a club level, but think of it. Which face comes to your mind when you think about football in Argentina? In my case, it's Maradona, long before I think of Messi. He became an icon latest in 1986 when he won the second World Cup trophy for his country, or think about how he transformed Napoli from an average side to Italian league champion, even once winning the double in 1987. We can start arguing if he or Messi should be on the throne, but as long as Messi doesn't win a World Cup or motivates at least 15,000 people to join a church that praises you, yes, there's a church of Diego Maradona, the golden boy will stay on top. Let's check out the football facilities in Argentina. Buenos Aires is the world capital of football. The metropolitan area is home to more than 30 stadiums with a capacity of over 15,000. The Monumental, with a capacity of 70,000, is home to Argentina's most successful club River Plate and is the biggest stadium in the country. But the internationally most famous ground, La Bombonera in La Boca, is home to the arch-rivals Boca Juniors. The rivalry between River Plate and Boca Juniors is worldwide football folklore. But just a few meters to the south of the city limits of Buenos Aires, you can find the second biggest rivalry in Argentine football. The Avellaneda derby between Racing and Independiente, the third and fourth biggest clubs of Argentina. Their stadiums are separated by just 300 meters and can house 61,000 spectators in case of Racing's Estadio Presidente Perón and 50,000 in case of Independiente's Estadio Libertadores de America. San Lorenzo's Estadio Pedro Bidegain can house round about 45,000. But the diehard San Lorenzo supporters see the ground only as temporary, since they all want to go back to the original home in the city district of Boedo. The original ground, the Viejo Gasometro, had to be sold to the military government at the end of the 1970s for a bargain price. And what did the military do? They flipped the ground for a big profit to French supermarket chain Carrefour. The result was a nomadic life for San Lorenzo and its fans. In those 15 years, the club saw its support slowly vanishing season after season, since they had to play in stadiums of the arch-rivals and the fans had to travel to distant city districts just to follow their club. But the new government organized a deal between the club and the French supermarket chain that might make a move back to the original home possible. But that might take a while when we consider the economic circumstances Argentina has to go through for the last decades. In general, you can say that the football facilities in Argentina are quite outdated. Don't get me wrong. Almost every ground in Argentina is a groundhopper's paradise. But don't expect to have cushioned seatings or even a roof above your head when you have the chance to visit a match. Let's check out the support and the fan culture in the country. Argentina's fan culture is the best in the world. Period. I have never witnessed anything as passionate like what's going on the Argentinian terraces. And it isn't just limited to the big five clubs of River, Boca, Independiente, Racing or San Lorenzo. River vs Boca might be the biggest derby worldwide, but there are countless fixtures in Argentina that makes the blood of its supporters boil. So let's have a closer look on some of the biggest rivalries in the country. The Boca vs River derby is called the Super Clásico, the greatest derby in the football world. Both clubs have their roots in the district of La Boca. But the rivalry really heated up when River made a move to the rich neighborhood of Núñez. And River's move to the rich neighborhoods of Buenos Aires gave them the nickname Los Millonarios, while the Boca fans always see themselves as working class. I guess we can all remember the scenes of the second leg match of the Copa Libertadores in 2018, when both clubs faced each other in South America's most prestigious club competition. Boca's team bus was attacked by a mob of River fans that led to the match being postponed and being rescheduled several weeks later in Madrid, Spain, thousands of kilometers away from Buenos Aires. River's victory in the final match must have been the biggest satisfaction for its fans after they got heavily mocked for 7 years straight by the Boca support. Why? In 2011, River played relegated to the second division for the first time in the club history. A moment of pure joy for every Boca supporter. When Racing won the Copa Libertadores in 1967, rivaling fans of Independiente cursed the club by burying 7 black cats on the premises of Racing Stadium. And the curse, it worked. The following years, Racing couldn't win any trophies except for the Copa Sudamericana in 1988. They digged up the whole stadium to find the 7 black cats, but only found 6 of them. When the stadium was renovated in 2001, the remains of the last black cat were found. And what happened immediately afterwards? Racing became league champion in the same year. The third biggest derby in Buenos Aires is between San Lorenzo and Huracan, but there are countless other derbies in Argentine's biggest metropolitan area. Tigre vs Platense, Vélez Sarsfield vs Ferro Carriles, Atlanta vs Chacarita Juniors, San Telmo vs Dock Sud, Nueva Chicago vs All Boys, Almirante Brown vs Deportivo Morón, and many, many more. And as you might have thought, derbies are not only limited to Buenos Aires. In Rosario, for example, you can find the Clásico Rosarino, contested between Messi's childhood club Newell's Old Boys and Rosario Central. The city of La Plata is home to the Clásico Platense between Gimnasia y Esgrima versus Estudiantes. Córdoba houses the Clásico Cordobés between Belgrano and Talleres. And in Santa Fe, local powerhouses Colón and Unión battle out the Clásico Santafesiño. Since the violence in Argentine football escalated in the early days of the 2010er years, actually it always was present in the decades before, the AFA decided that visiting fans are not allowed to travel to away matches anymore. Nevertheless, even without away fans, the atmosphere in the stadiums is still electric. The term hinchada is the word for fan group. Every club has its hinchada that in most cases is deeply wrapped into the local neighborhoods. They bring the atmosphere to the terraces and are social anchor points for the local communities. More extreme fan groups are called Barra Bravas and can be compared to ultras and even hooligans in Europe. Most Barra Brava groups have a notorious reputation since they are not only active in supporting their club, they are examples of drug and human trafficking, extortion, and many other tax-free activities done by several groups. But the last thing I want to do is spreading fear of Argentine football fan culture. Sure, it has its negative side effects, especially in a society that is so extremely intermingled with the beautiful game, but at the end, football is a part of daily life of almost every Argentinian. First day at work after a weekend? Let's mock the colleagues whose team have lost the days before. Meeting a stranger in one of the countless bars in Buenos Aires? What is a better conversation starter than football? Football in Argentina is more than just a sport. It's a lifestyle, a sense of community, and a diversion for a country that is stuck in economic problems since like forever. Thank you for tuning in. Next up, Armenia. My name is Björn. This is Footour. Have a nice day.